The strangest feeling is getting up in the morning with a purpose, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, having that first cigarette, getting on the train, dealing with all these commuters, to show up to work to do nothing.
A former school teacher named Jeremy Garrett decided to make a movie about one of the things the school system puts his colleagues through, something that seemed like terrible mismanagement to him in the New York City public schools where he worked. Jeremy had heard about teachers who were removed from their classrooms and sent to a place that everybody calls the rubber room. Like, for example, this teacher that he interviewed, who did not want his name used, who was having personality conflicts with the principal. And the principal suggested that he could be reassigned elsewhere. It sounded great to the teacher. And then for the next few days, instead of going to school, he went to this room in a Department of Education building.
It's kind of embarrassing. The first 2 days, as I'm sitting down there, I was naive enough to say to the secretary, about what time do you think I'll be meeting with somebody? And she's like, well, you're just going to sit there until you do meet with somebody. And then at the end of the second day, I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, I have an after-school Regents prep program to help the kids with the Regents exam. I'm like, this is nuts. I mean, these kids have to take a Regents exam in like a week away. And then eventually the light goes on over your head as you start, like meeting other people that are sitting there too. And you realize, all right, this is going to be a long-term kind of thing.
This is the rubber room. Some teachers are put there because they're accused of something like putting their hands on a kid, where the school would want them out of the classroom while it investigates and determines guilt or innocence. But many of the teachers are just there for things like insubordination, unsatisfactory performance. And some teachers don't know why they're there. And instead of finding them guilty and firing them, or finding them innocent and returning them to the classroom, the New York schools just hold them, sometimes for years, doing nothing. Nothing, all day long, nothing, in these big rooms.
The environment has a culture all its own. And when you're there long enough, like I was there for a year, when you're there long enough, you see the stages of the culture. New people sit there and are very quiet and say nothing to anybody under any circumstances. And then a couple weeks go by, they realize, okay, I guess I'm going to be here for a while. I might as well start getting relaxed. A lot of people come in with suit and tie because they figure they're going to meet with somebody immediately and then get back into the classroom because they think this whole thing's a joke. What am I here for in the first place? So once it dawns on them that you're going to be here for a while, then they start to loosen up. They don't dress as nice. They realize, I'm going to be comfortable because I'm going to be sitting down in a room for 6 hours. Then on stage 3, you start opening up, you start talking to people, you start interacting. What do you like? Oh, I like doing crossword puzzles. You start building bonds with people.
This guy spent a full year in the rubber room, and then he was fired without any formal charges. At any given time, there are as many as a dozen or so rubber rooms around the city of New York, in all 5 boroughs, holding as many as 700 or 800 teachers. The teachers show up every day, all day, and they're paid their full salaries, meaning taxpayers are putting out tens of millions of dollars for this every year. Well, this teacher's film about the rubber room made us wonder more about what life is like inside the rubber room, and with the filmmaker's permission, we asked the team at Radio Diaries, Joe Richmond, Samara Freemark, and Anayansi Diaz-Cortez, to go out and do a radio version of the story. Here it is.
My name is Yago Kira. I'm 32 years old. I was an English teacher in the Bronx for 3 years.
My name is Grace Colon. I've been a teacher in New York City for 16 years. I'm starting my 2nd year in the rubber room.
My name is Jonathan. I was a teacher in the New York City public school system for 1 month and in the rubber room for 4 months. Yeah, I spent much longer in the rubber room than I did in the classroom.
My principal called me into the office just before Christmas 2006. She had a paper, and she told me that I am being reassigned to reassignment center. And I'm asking, what does this mean? What does reassignment center mean? Somebody looked at me and said, well, you're in the rubber room.
I said the word in the hallway of my school in a conversation with another teacher. And unbeknownst to me, there was an open door nearby, and a classroom of 8th graders heard me. I knew that I was going to be in trouble. The principal kind of pulled me aside on my way to my classroom and charged me with verbal abuse of a child. I mean, it's child abuse, verbal abuse. So she literally accused me of abusing a child by accidentally using a single 4-letter word. And I had no idea. At that moment, I would never see my students again. I had no idea.
When I did go to the so-called reassignment center, you walk into a typical city office, almost like either welfare office, food stamp office, people walking around, trying to look busy, not making eye contact. You start thinking, where are you?
And there's about 8 to 10 rooms. In every room, there's about 10 people. And space is at a premium.
I mean, you had the black corner, you had the Hispanic corner, you had the few white people that were scared to death. And so you have to make a quick decision because everybody else is sort of looking you, sizing you up. Oh, where do I go?
My first day there, I went in and I reported to the supervisor in charge. She said, well, go find yourself a chair, but be careful because people are territorial. And, in fact, fights have broken out over chairs. And I thought to myself, what are you talking about? Fights breaking out among teachers over chairs. And I went and I saw the first open seat I saw. I went and I sat down in it and I opened up my book and the person next to me said, you can't sit there. That's blah, blah, blah's seat. And I said, well, where's blah, blah, blah? They said, well, he didn't come in because it's Friday and he wanted the 3-day weekend. And I said, well, when he comes in, we could talk about it then. So she got up and left the room, and a minute later she came back and she said, I found you a seat. I got you a seat. You'll like it better there. I can see you like to read. It's a quieter room. So I thought, oh, that's, a friendly thing to do. And she went and took me in the other room, and she'd asked my name. And so she went in there and said, everybody, this is Jonathan. And she went around the room, and she introduced me to everyone in the room. She said, and here's your chair. And sure enough, there was an empty chair. And then she left. And I went and I sat down, and the woman a couple of chairs away said, you can't sit there. That's blah, blah, blah's seat. And I want to emphasize, I was not in a good mood. I was not happy to be there. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was feeling hostile. And, well, I'm kind of a big guy, and this is a rather petite woman, some years older than me, and I leaned right over and I got in her face. I said, now you listen to me. I'm going to sit in that chair. And if anybody doesn't like it, anybody's got a problem about it, you send them right to me, and we'll talk about it. And I sat right down, and I opened my book, and she gave me a dirty look and didn't say anything. So I sat in that very same chair every day, and that was my chair. And sometimes I could get an empty chair and put it in front of me and turn it around and use it as a table. And that was nice.
My name is Gail Friedman. I am now in the rubber room, and I've been in there since February of 2007. The children don't know what happened to me. They might have thought maybe I moved away or I went to another school. You're just not there anymore.
You're in this forgotten little place. My name is Pete Sinclair, but that's really not my name. And I've been in the rubber room for about 1.5 years. It's that feeling of lack of momentum, of anything moving. It's like purgatory. And time just goes by and everyone is just sort of playing cards.
It's just like you sit and wait, like as if you'd be in a waiting room, except that you're waiting for months. Sometimes people wait for years. You just wait.
When I first come into the rubber room in the mornings, I look at the papers. Then I look through my bag. I usually stick bills and stuff, my checkbook.
You just kind of go there, you sign in, you sit down, you stare at the wall, You get into a conversation with somebody, you make a phone call, you check your stocks if you want.
Some people play cards, some people gossip, some people have portable VCRs, they look at movies.
And then there were little classes that were held. Took Spanish classes from a Spanish teacher. There were drawing classes. There was a book club, very popular, and they would meet twice a week for 90 minutes. And you would have 20 people in this little room that housed the refrigerator and the microwave, and they'd be talking about the novel or what have you. But, that might be 3 or 4 hours a week. Even if you did all the activities, it's just a few hours a week.
And there were a lot of people who would just kind of bring in pillows and would sleep all day.
No lesson plans, no homework, no papers to grade, no dealing with parents, no dealing with screaming kids.
And indeed, there are teachers that have been in the rubber room for years, collecting a salary for a job that they're not doing.
And for some people, that's not so bad. I mean, if you really hated teaching and you really liked playing cards, the money's the same. So, the noise for me might have been the worst part of actually being there. And the sound of it was really the most distinctive thing of it. Yeah. I wanted to get a souvenir. I brought in a little digital voice recorder, so I just laid the recorder down on the table, and here, I'll play it for you. It's very crowded. The acoustics are terrible, very echoey, and teachers like to talk.
I agree. We're off from what society condones as the norm. Right.
Like at a loud party, where you're talking to somebody, and after a while you realize that you're both shouting, and then you realize that everybody in the room is shouting.
It's really difficult to sit there and try to read or get anything done when people are yelling or fighting or screaming over, a missing bottle of jelly in the refrigerator.
You have people that are in denial. You have people that are angry. You have people that have shut down. You have people that have introverted into not even speaking. They just come in and exist.
I mean, there are some really nutty people in there.
You don't want to make eye contact. There have been a lot of fights. The dumbest stuff. Someone went into the refrigerator and stole someone's butter. There have been arguments over paper, over someone stealing someone's pen.
Some of the people in the room like the lights off because it's more restful, and maybe they even want to sleep. And the rest of the people want the lights on because they want to read or play cards. So somebody will get up and turn the lights off, and somebody else will get up and turn the lights back on. It's a conflict of wills. There were fights, a couple of fights. I heard them because they'd be going on, say, in the room next door in the hallway, and then everybody would spill out into the hallway to go watch.
It's a prison type of culture. If you go out of your comfort zone, then people will mess with you. Let's say if I were to go to the white area and decide I want their chair and stuff, the people there are going to look out for their chairs. And so there will be a confrontation. You want to be very careful not to step on anybody's space, because space seems to be the last control. That's the last thing that they have control over.
People fight over the few things that there are to fight over, such as territory. And it was this amazing thing because one of the more popular members of the group went back to her school. She got sent back. And there were literally tearful farewells. There were flowers. There was cake. Goodbye, goodbye. And before the end of the day, somebody had claimed her seat. And everybody had kind of moved up in the pecking order territorially. It's not so much the chair as it is the real estate it sits upon. So what you want is a nice spot. It's nice to sit near a window. It makes a difference whether there's some shrieking banshee 4 feet away from your ear. It makes a difference whether the light fixture flickers. I mean, you're going to be there for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. You know, you wouldn't think it would make so much of a difference. But you're there for a long time. So it does.
The strangest feeling is getting up in the morning with a purpose, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, having that first cigarette, getting on the train, dealing with all these commuters, to show up to work to do nothing. And I think it's made that way. I think that's kind of the point. They punish you with boredom.
It's kind of an indelicate question to ask somebody how long they've been there. It's a little bit like asking somebody what they're in for. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating.
After about a week of going there and reading all day, you begin to realize that there is no cavalry. There's no one coming in your defense. There's no one beating down the door saying, "Give us back our teacher." There's no one making phone calls to, clear your name. And that's when it hits you. That's when you realize, holy crap, I could be in here indefinitely.
When you first start out, you're in denial and you're sort of frozen. You have no emotion. I think that went on for me for maybe 2 to 3 months. And then after 6 months, at that point, we had our summer vacation. You come back and then you get angry all over again. Here you are, starting again, yet a new school semester in this limbo.
The thing with the Department of Education, it's such a large system. 1 million kids, 1 million students. I mean, if you begin to think about it, it's staggering.
Yeah, there's 70,000 teachers. So, even if 700 have these Kafka-esque things happening to them, that's still only one in 100. Wait, that is a lot. 1%. Yeah.
I feel that the Department of Education, in many ways, it's hiding a secret.
Temporary Reassignment Center. My name is Dan Weisberg. I'm the Chief Executive Labor Policy for the New York City Department of Education. I don't doubt that there are teachers in the reassignment centers who believe, A, they didn't do anything wrong, or there are teachers there who think that what they did really doesn't warrant the punishment, as they see it, of being reassigned. In some cases, those are difficult decisions, but we are entrusted with the safety of over 1 million kids, including, by the way, mine. The benefit of the doubt has to go to the kids. We're not an auto company, we're not an accounting firm, and we're dealing with something unique, and that is the well-being of children.
My sense is that there's been a more aggressive policy about trying to bring teachers up on charges, and as a result, the numbers of people going into the rubber room have increased a lot lately. I'm Sam Friedman, and I write the On Education column for the New York Times. And I've been covering education on and off for about 30 years. There are many incompetent and some abusive and exploitative teachers who are totally deserving of having their licenses taken away and who should be, never allowed to be in the presence of children. That said, this is still not the humane way to deal with them, and it's also, in my view, not been an effective way of separating out who's facing legitimate accusations and who's there because of a grudge with a principal and is otherwise, an entirely capable educator. there isn't a whole lot they can do about it except to have their day in court, or more exactly, have their day with a hearing officer.
I'm starting my second year in the rubber room. I'm waiting to have my hearing.
My case was very, very different. In my case, I had a principal who was willing to go to bat for me. After 2 weeks, I was reinstated and allowed to come back and teach.
Well, I fully expect to be fired, and I've got another job. By most measures, it's a better job. I'll make a little more money. I have a little more responsibility. There's more room for advancement. But it's not what I chose. I chose to teach in the public schools. And I don't think I'm going to make the kind of difference in people's lives doing what I'm going to be doing that I could have made teaching.
Our story on The Rubber Room was produced by Joe Richmond, Samara Friedmark, and Anayansi Diaz-Cortez of Radio Diaries. Their website, where you can hear their stories for absolutely free, radiodiaries.org. The movie about rubber rooms that inspired us to do this story is at rubberroommovie.com.